Welcome to the Mind Cut series. Today we're plunging into a really fascinating conversation. It's a collection of 50 simple truths aimed at helping overthinkers, maybe like you, feel less stressed and, well, more calm.
Yeah, sounds good.
Our mission here is to kind of pull out the core wisdom, figure out why it works, and most importantly, see how you can actually use these ideas in your life. We want to move beyond just managing anxiety
Right.
to actually growing stronger because of it. So let's dive in. One of the first big things this text tackles is just how we talk about anxiety.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's the power of a really subtle shift in language. Instead of saying, I'm anxious, the idea is to say, I feel anxious because, and that little change, it creates this crucial space.
Space, how do you mean?
Well, it changes anxiety from being this fixed part of your identity, like this is who I am, into, a temporary emotional state.
Okay. Like saying, I feel tired after a long day
Yeah.
versus just, I am tired.
Exactly that. One feels permanent, like a label. The other feels like a response to something specific.
That clicks. It really does. It's moving anxiety from being a defining label to just a signal, like something your mind and body are trying to tell you.
Precisely. And the source material is really clear on this. This signal isn't some kind of flaw or a disease you have to cure. It's actually feedback.
Information.
It's information, yeah. Now, our usual reactions, reaching for medication maybe, distracting ourselves, avoiding the things that make us anxious.
We all do that sometimes.
Sure, they're understandable. They give you that immediate sense of relief, right? But if you think about it, it's a bit like hitting snooze on a fire alarm instead of checking for smoke.
Yeah, good analogy. You get temporary quiet, but you haven't actually dealt with a potential fire.
Exactly. And that's where the text nudges us towards something different. To actually pay attention, what is this feeling trying to tell me?
Which means shifting away from beating ourselves up about it. That inner critic saying, ugh, something's wrong with me.
Yeah, moving away from that towards, self-compassion. Treating ourselves with a bit more grace.
Recognizing it's normal.
It's totally normal. Feeling anxious isn't a personal failure. It's a human thing. A universal emotion, not weakness.
And the goal isn't just to make the feeling vanish.
No, the real win, as the text implies, is using that understanding to build inner strength.
Right.
We want to get to a place where we're not just soothing anxiety, but actually growing because we understand its messages.
Which leads into that contrast you mentioned earlier between Eastern and Western ways of thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, the before and after versus the cyclical view. So in the West, often there's this underlying idea that you can, conquer anxiety and then it's just gone. Forever.
Like flipping the switch, done.
Right. But the Eastern perspective, which this source touches on, sees it more cyclically. It accepts that anxiety is probably going to pop up again in different forms throughout life.
Like seasons changing.
Exactly. It's not about reaching some permanent anxiety-free state.
Which feels more realistic, honestly. Life keeps throwing new stuff at us. But here's a key bit. If anxiety keeps showing up in the exact same way,
Then that's a signal. It suggests maybe we haven't quite learned the lesson it was trying to teach us that time. The growth hasn't happened.
Okay, so the goal isn't a one-time fix.
No, it's about getting better at reading the signals and adapting. And the real promise here isn't necessarily to cure anxiety itself, but something maybe more important.
Yeah.
To cure the despair around anxiety.
That feeling of being completely stuck.
Hopeless.
That feeling, yeah. Because that powerlessness, that's the real heavy part.
And it's interesting, the tension we feel often isn't just from the anxious feelings.
That's a great point. A lot of the struggle comes from fighting against them, resisting.
Resistance itself causes pain.
It does. The anxious feelings on their own, not necessarily harmful, but the fighting, the avoiding that can dig us deeper, like struggling in quicksand,
Right, makes it worse.
Which leads to a really positive idea, expanding our options. The text talks about how feeling cornered, like you have no choices, really ramps up anxiety.
Yeah.
Like being stuck in a job you hate.
Oh, definitely. That feeling of being trapped. Major anxiety fuel. But the antidote, the source says, is curiosity. It calls it courage in disguise.
Curiosity is courage in disguise.
Like that?
Me too. It's not just being nosy, it's being brave enough to explore possibilities when everything in you wants to just retreat to what's familiar, even if familiar is miserable.
So curiosity helps you explore the gray areas.
Yeah.
Instead of just seeing things as good, bad, safe, unsafe.
Exactly. You start asking questions, challenging those rigid black and white thoughts your anxious mind defaults to.
And maybe find out the fear is based on stories you're telling yourself.
Often, yes. Limiting beliefs like, oh, I could never do that, or it's too late now. Curiosity makes you poke holes in those stories.
And keeping that open mind, that open heart, means staying curious, challenging our own narratives, which connects to confidence, right? Because confidence isn't just on or off. Totally. The dimmer switch analogy in the text is spot on. Confidence isn't a light switch. You build it up gradually.
But society often kind of encourages us to avoid the hard stuff, doesn't it? Arrange life to minimize challenges.
It does. But if you only ever stay in your comfort zone, well, you never find out what you're really capable of.
Yeah. The text mentions someone avoiding asking for help, that urge to just sidestep what makes you anxious. It feels like self-protection, but
it prevents growth. The source is clear. There's no real growth in constant avoidance. Those challenges, the triggers, they're uncomfortable, sure, but they're actually invitations. Invitations to grow.
real development happens outside the comfort zone.
That's where it happens. You have to lean into the discomfort sometimes, intentionally face the things that feel uneasy.
Which brings us to that really useful analogy, mental health as a muscle.
Yeah, think about it physically. If you never exercise, your muscles get weak, right? They can't handle stress as well.
Makes sense.
It's the same mentally. Mental health isn't this fragile thing to be bubble wrapped. It's a tool, a muscle we use to navigate life's struggles, which are inevitable.
And the struggle itself isn't the enemy.
Not at all. It's the process through which we build resilience, emotional strength, self-awareness. Every time you navigate a tough feeling or overcome something,
You learn something.
you get beta about yourself, about what you can handle. Negative experiences, triggers, they're all information.
So by choosing to face uncomfortable things sometimes in a controlled way,
You build up that resilience reserve for when the big, unexpected stuff hits. It's like consciously making life a little harder in chores and areas so you're stronger overall.
the text connects this to purpose too. Engaging with something meaningful can make the discomfort feel worthwhile.
Like playing a challenging video game, maybe? You face the hard parts willingly because you're invested in reaching the next level.
Yeah, that works. And this flips how we think about confidence building.
Right. The sequence is key. Confidence follows preparation, organization, practice. It doesn't just show up before you act.
We wait to feel confident, but that might mean we never start.
Exactly. Feeling anxious before doing something hard. Totally normal. Think about learning to read. You struggled first, right? Confidence came later.
So motivation and confidence actually come from taking the action, even small steps.
Yes.
Step
Like
down.
getting a snowball rolling. It builds momentum.
And this isn't just intellectual. The body needs to experience it.
Absolutely. Logical understanding isn't enough. Your body needs the proof. Like a trust fall, you know they'll catch you, but your body doesn't relax until it feels caught.
So practice leads to progress.
Mm-hmm.
Moving away from I can't or I've mastered it.
Embracing the journey. Celebrating the small wins.
And as we practice, we start to challenge that anxiety habit of, overestimating the danger and underestimating ourselves.
Which brings up that quote. What was it? Anxiety is when your intelligence grows quicker than your courage.
Ooh, that's good. Anxiety is when your intelligence grows quicker than your courage. So our minds can imagine all sorts of bad stuff.
Yeah, our intelligence, our imagination races ahead conjuring threats. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the survival brain,
Sees anything uncertain or unfamiliar as danger.
right, even just discomfort can feel like a threat to that part of the brain. So your intellect knows it's okay, but the fear response still kicks in.
So the answer isn't silencing the intelligence, but building up the courage to match it.
Feel the fear and do it anyway, essentially. Acknowledge it, but act. Resilience doesn't always feel good in the moment.
Yeah, it's about pushing through.
Exactly. Life is chaotic. We can't control everything. The goal is trusting our ability to handle whatever comes, which can even help reframe things like social anxiety.
The wrong garden idea. Instead of, I'm socially anxious, maybe it's, this environment isn't the right fit for me.
It's liberating, isn't it? Takes the blame off you immediately. And it connects to boundaries, too.
The text defines boundaries as teaching people how to be with you. Not walls, but guidelines.
Yeah, guidelines for healthy interaction, based on your needs. And ideally, they apply universally, this is how I need to be treated, by anyone.
And setting them comes from caring, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to improve the relationship.
Often, yes, even with the people we love most. Which is relevant when we look at childhood roots of anxiety.
Right, the idea that home is where anxiety starts. for many, absorbing family stress without even realizing it.
Like carrying this invisible backpack full of their anxieties for years, decades even. And the first step is just compassion for your younger self.
Who is just coping with limited tools.
Exactly, doing the best they could. Those childhood coping skills, they might have been necessary then, but maybe they don't work so well now. They might even cause anxiety now.
So view your mental health like it's always been on your team, just maybe needs an upgrade.
That's a great way to put it. An upgrade, new tools. And family, because those ties are so deep, can feel like the ultimate boss for triggering anxiety.
Pushing all the old buttons.
Right, so those anxious feelings around family, don't just ignore them. The text suggests their signals. Explore them.
And maybe gently, safely, lean into those triggers sometimes.
That's where the healing can happen. Voluntarily exploring those triggered moments. Remembering healing isn't linear, it's cyclical. Stuff will come up again.
But each time you navigate it consciously, you get stronger, wiser, more compassionate.
You build that core belief. Okay, this might be hard, but I can handle hard.
And learn to tell the difference between a bad day and real trauma, or a difficult person and a toxic one.
Yes. So you don't build your whole identity around I'm an anxious person. The focus becomes training your resilience, trusting yourself, like fire drills, preparing for things that might happen.
So with family boundaries, it's back to teaching people how to be with you. Proactive communication.
Based on care. Wanting a healthier dynamic, even though it can be tough with family because patterns are so ingrained.
So you need grace for yourself and for them.
And context helps. Remembering they were often doing their best with their limitations, maybe operating out of their own stress or survival mode.
The more kindness you show yourself, the more you can show others.
Exactly. And knowing the difference between real guilt, like when you betray your own values, and people-pleasing guilt.
Which is more about fearing disapproval, abandoning yourself.
Right. And people-pleasing doesn't just hurt you. It can stop others from growing their own resilience, too. The answer isn't avoiding hard conversations.
It's opening dialogue, vulnerability, connection, understanding.
Which applies to friendships, too. The text notes anxious friends equals anxious you, which is tricky because, well, lots of people feel anxious.
So what's the advice there?
Focus on the common themes underneath the anxiety, lack of control, feeling unsafe, facing the unknown, rather than just the specific trigger of the day.
And vulnerability helps here, too. Sharing your own stuff.
Big time. Sharing, I feel anxious because it invites them to do the same, creates connection. It's that first step, the quote, you can't heal what you don't reveal.
Community is vital. But maybe sometimes you do need to reevaluate friendships if someone seems stuck in an anxious identity and resists growth.
Gently, yeah. It's a possibility. Ultimately, a huge theme here is getting okay with discomfort.
Our wiring wants comfort,
Yeah.
but the modern world is full of, not comfort, constant stimuli, comparison.
Right, so confidence, like reading or any skill, it's built by doing the slightly hard things consistently. Action first, motivation follows.
And the body learns by doing. Practice, repetition.
While remembering anxiety tends to overestimate the threat and underestimate you, so feel the fear and do it anyway, but start small. Practice consistently.
Like the jiu-jitsu instructor saying you're thinking too much. Sometimes you just have to engage, stop analyzing.
Get out of your head. Apply it to small things, sending that email, making that call. Break the rumination cycle.
With self-compassion, though. Acknowledge it's hard, take breaks, but come back to it.
And have supportive people around you who get it, who offer grace.
Grace in action. Sometimes that means doing the good-for-you thing, even when it feels bad initially. Like exercise when tired.
Exactly. Distinguishing self-compassion from just coddling yourself. Encouraging action. Treating mental health like that muscle. Voluntary challenges build strength.
Recognizing we all have different styles, too. Tackle the easy thing first or the hard thing.
Yeah, know yourself. Which brings us to those bigger anxieties, timelines, comparison.
Ugh, the societal pressure. Marriage by X, career by Y.
It's huge, and social media just pours gasoline on that fire, right? Constant comparison, stealing joy.
So step one is maybe reduce exposure.
Definitely helps. And then commit to really understanding yourself so you can design a life based on your values, not someone else's timeline.
Using triggers as a roadmap again, pointing to where the work is needed.
Exactly. Self-awareness is key. Even envy can be useful. What is it showing you that you authentically value?
And asking, am I genuinely trying to improve or just trying to keep up? Big difference.
Which connects back to fitting in versus belonging. Fitting in often means wearing a mask.
Belonging means being accepted as you are. The wrong garden idea again. Find your garden.
Which requires knowing yourself first so people can accept the real you because you're showing it.
And you might find the belonging, that alignment, in surprising places. It's not just about finding clones of yourself.
It's about alignment. And life will bring difficult emotions, guaranteed.
A broken heart is an open heart. That reframe again, when reality doesn't match expectations. Opportunity.
Yeah, heartbreak, loss. They can build resilience, compassion, make you a more rounded person.
If you trust you can navigate it, avoid self-sabotage.
And lean into those big feelings with grace. They show you care. They hold potential for growth, which leads us to maybe the biggest one we avoid, aging and mortality.
Right, facing our own mortality.
Hey.
It sounds grim, but the text suggests it's actually a powerful tool against everyday anxiety.
Thinking of life as temporary, a vacation from not existing.
That perspective shift. At any moment, you're dust. It sounds harsh, but
It shrinks the problems, doesn't it? It makes you realize how big you're making things that might not matter in the grand scheme.
the fact that it's finite gives it value, like a movie ending.
So remembering you're going to die, not morbidly, but as perspective. That's the magic pill for anxiety sometimes. Puts things in context.
People who've had near-death experiences often talk about this huge shift in priorities.
Exactly. You start focusing on living, not worrying about embarrassment or rejection. It's wisdom found in Eastern thought, too. Remember death daily to improve life now.
It minimizes the unnecessary stress, lets the necessary stress become fuel for growth.
Pressure builds diamonds, right? Challenges become opportunities, not attacks. Which brings us to the last idea. Moving beyond just legacy.
Yeah, questioning that huge pressure to leave some massive legacy. What about just enjoying the present?
Unlearning the idea that life has to be this linear upward climb, embracing the cycles, the ups and downs.
And working on being resilient enough to handle whatever comes, rather than just wishing life was easier.
Because growth needs the difficulties. You have to lean in.
So, wrapping this up, the big message seems to be, anxiety is part of life. Our relationship with it is what matters.
Understanding its signals, practicing resilience, that's crucial for growth and well-being.
So maybe take a moment after this, reflect on these ideas. Think about one small step you could take. Reframing an anxiety, maybe facing a small challenge.
Just one small thing.
Now here's a final thought to chew on. What if your anxious feelings are not obstacles standing in your way, but rather insightful compass points, gently guiding you towards deeper self-understanding and unexpected reservoirs of inner strength?